So today I want to demonstrate how, kind of this next step in our Adopt a Pixel framework and kind of our Earth Explorer piece. Were either of you yesterday at our meeting with about the Appears tool? And the big point there is what we actually are sort of wanting to do is most of the satellite data that we were kind of exploring and talking about sometimes is of multiple resolutions, and so really one of the only way to really understand what those numbers are that you get back from the satellites or that kind of thing is to get a little bit more detailed and look at a high resolution image and do some labeling so that if you weren't able to get there on the ground to take photos, then we can hopefully look down and we can describe it in terms of the what is there, trees, shrubs, grass, that kind of thing, just like what we see down here in the photos, or is it something different that we might not be able to see on the ground? And so the whole thing is just kind of trying to give us another way of labeling this location that helps us to understand the numbers that we're getting from above. So that's really what our assignment is to go through and to actually do those labels. And so does that make sense to both of you?
Yeah, it does. And I think Kate said her mic was broken in case
Perfect. I missed that at first, but that's perfect. All right, that's great. So that's we have hopefully one line of evidence of ground photos that might help us to understand sometimes the blurry pixels or just kind of what it looks like from above. So it's really nice and complementary that way. And so the tool that we're going to use is, this can be done in a lot of different places, but there's a specific tool that has been developed that just makes it easier to do some of this satellite or this labeling. And let's see, hopefully. All right, usually we get a slightly different homepage, but if you haven't done so already, just register. I'm an administrator of our account, so I'm going to go in and log in here and just show you kind of what it looks like. But here, let me put this into the chat. And so you should be able to go there and log in. And then we can track who does what, and it just adds a little bit more information to our project. Plus, you actually won't be able to see our project unless you log in. I kind of have that set up that way. So let's welcome Renee. Hi, Renee. How's it going?
Good. Hi.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. It was, kind of a last minute sort of scheduling of an event. So I'm glad that you could join us. And right now, I just kind of have gone over a little bit of our goal, why we're using this particular tool, which I'll go back over as we get into this a little bit. But you can see, I asked our other two participants to add in their area of interest number, so that way we can just kind of see what numbers everybody is, and it just makes it a little easier as well, since that's kind of the way that we're referring to everybody these days, or at least on this project right now in this space. So if look that up, Renee, and go ahead and add that to your name, and then we'll continue on. All right, Renee, thanks. I'm glad to see that you had that at your fingertips. Okay, so let's see. Before I move on, I'm going to ask, that you guys go ahead and log into this on your own browser, and you should be able to just put it up in front of me, put me to the side, or that kind of thing, because I'll walk you through what it is, because hopefully when you log in, you should be able to search for and find a Globe Observer. You probably won't have this affiliation. It will be, you might be under other institutions, but you should be able to search right here for Globe Observer, and you should get something like this that comes up. And when you go to visit it, I have a little bit more access because I am the person who runs this. So that's one thing that just kind of recognize. I don't have a way of seeing it the way that you guys do. But if you go to our Globe Observer project, you should actually see a list of projects that are available there. And if you scroll all the way down, I have broken up our areas of interest into by tens, basically, because I was breaking the system with too many with too many things to label. So I broke it up into tens, and that kind of makes it easier. So let's see, Kate, you should be in this very first one from 1 to 10. And this is always an interesting thing, is is 10 included in this one, or does it start with this other one? So that's just kind of a funny little thing, but I hope to hopefully made it nice and clear so that Kate, you should be in that first batch. Renee, it looks like you and Trisha will actually be both in this project where it's the 21 to 30 inside of there. So that'll be good, because that will allow us to get 2 of those done in that chunk. So let me know if you guys are finding that. All right, we got success on 1.
I found mine.
Excellent, success on 2.
Yeah, I'm not seeing mine for some reason.
Okay, so Renee. Okay, so let's see. Can you see the list of projects on the Globe Observer one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then down here at the bottom, do you see a C's 2023 with the 21 to 30, or a list of any of those 2023 projects?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, let me just go into that myself. And so when you click on it, you should see something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And so remember, I kind of had to come up with this numbering system to kind of keep everybody distinct. And one of the things that this map shows is kind of the range of where people are located in this set right inside of here. You can see that there's quite a few people down in Texas. We have 2 projects over here in California, one up in the Seattle area, and then one down in Florida, and then one over in kind of that New York area. But that's kind of one thing, right off the bat, like, Renee, do you see yourself on this map?
Yeah, no, I'm in Colorado. So.
Okay, so perfect. Okay, so we might have to do a little bit backtrack there to figure out your area of interest number with this. And so one of the things that I will go back to is I'm going to take us to a map that I created. And I should have done this initially for everybody. If you guys are able, when you log into your ArcGIS Online account, that you have with us, you can go in and you should be able to find, all right, Kate, that's a good question. Maybe I made a mistake when I was uploading. So you might have sort of figured this out. So let's do a little detective work here together, because I might have uploaded the wrong coordinates when I did this. So this is a really good step right away, that whenever you start doing anything is sort of double checking that the data's set up right. Okay, so you guys are helping me double check here. So this is a really good thing. So you'll see that when we go up, we have some content that I've actually shared with a variety of people. And so what I actually did is I uploaded the center points of everybody's areas of interest, and I created a map out of that. So Renee, since you kind of gave me an indication of where you're at, anybody can go in and you should be able to open up this layer. But I'll walk us through where I currently have people located. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And so yes, Renee, so I see when I click on sort of that, the only one in Colorado kind of makes it nice and easy. You know that yes, you're AOI number 26, and so in your stack I should be seeing that number. Okay, so that tells me that there might be something wrong with the projects and what I set up there. And Kate, you sort of confirmed that when if I go back and scroll down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that project and then open up this next project so that I can quickly just kind of go back and forth and see like, oh, okay, like there's a little bit of something different between that first batch 1 to 10 and then 11 to 20, right? Like I see a little bit of at least a shift over here, more the yellow box sort of changes. So that at least tells me that we have some difference there. And if I open up this one and put it into order, let's see, 21 to 30. And yeah, so 1 to 10 and 21 to 30 look exactly the same. You notice how, and this is a technique that I use quite often to double check data and just kind of see where the difference is. It's a technique called a flicker. And you're basically flickering between two images. And here you can see that there's no change. So Kate, I totally confirmed exactly what you saw. Renee, this is the first thing that we need to sort of double check. So I need to go back and fix this project. I didn't get the right coordinates for 21 to 30. So Trisha, Renee, that's the first thing that we needed to check. So step one, we've confirmed that. So does that make sense what I just did for everybody? And also give me a thumbs up.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So this is kind of this is one of those things that can happen whether you're doing something programmatically, but it's more likely to happen when you do it in the way that I did it, which was much more by hand. So what I am going to do, let's see right here. I need to find where I did this work. Okay. I've got it right here on there. And what I'm going to do is go back in and open up this Excel file. Okay. And I didn't get a chance to actually record this and show you guys this. So I am going to switch my screen here. To this table. Okay. So the way that I ended up doing this is I ended up making a spreadsheet with everybody's coordinates that you guys all put into one place. I had to rearrange the order of the fields because of this particular tool and the way that they wanted to read it in. So you'll notice that the plot ID now is kind of in that second place. But since I know we need to do, I need to fix 21 to 30. Let me just go down, and all I did was go in here and select all the plots before number 21 or 2100. All right. So that's all that was. And I'm just going to delete those out. And then, let's see, Trisha, we end with yours, which is back here at number 31. So all I'm going to do is just delete out the rest of those records right there. And we just save this file. And I am going to just overwrite that one. I'm going to replace it. And now I'm going to file, save as a different format. I'm going to save it as the comma separated format so that it can be easily read into the program, that website that we were just working with. Okay, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to replace it. And usually when you do this format change, if you haven't done it before between Excel or a Google Sheet and this comma separated value, one of the things that you want to do is first highlight the values. Otherwise, it will only take the one cell. So you'll see that's why I actually selected all of those values for those plots that are in that range. And then I get this wording saying some features will be lost. So you lose formulas, all kinds of things like that, but it simplifies the table into something that you can use in a lot of other programs, that comma separated values. Okay, so that's why I did what I did. And so let's go back over here. And so I now need to go back and fix this. So I am going to stop that one share and I am going to share the screen again. Okay. So right now it's just like a whole bunch of table wrangling, right, that I just did right there. So here, luckily, on the backside, as an administrator, I can see because of the red here, nobody's actually done this. So that's good. So I'm going to go in and I am going to not delete that yet, because that would be bad, just in case there's something else. But I want to first double check. So I am going to go here and I'm going to create another project. And you guys get to see how I actually did this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that project as a template, because I can do that to make my life a little easier. And I'm going to call that version 2, and I am going to say fixed plot locations on 6 July 2023, which created version 2 of this project. Okay. I'm going to change this to where you just have to log in to Collect Earth Online to be able to see this project, just like what you guys did. And then I'm going to take the rest of these defaults as they are there. Again, just take this as it is because I'm copying it from that other file. And here it kind of alludes to maybe my problem is that in fact, I might have grabbed the wrong plot table, which is why we saw that repeat of that. So let me navigate to find the actual project of the one that I just saved. So now hopefully that works. That's exactly how I had all the other things. We're making 100-meter areas that we're going to look at. These are the, we're going to do a grid of 10 meters to make it easy. Here's the labels that we're going to go for. Just another little check. And then, yes, I want to create this project, and we'll upload those. All right. Okay. So before I publish this project, I can double check right here. And so this is where it's really helpful that we have two people whose areas of interest are in this new project that I just created. So let's see. Now, we have Renee? We see you here, number 26, right? And Trisha, let's see. Do you see yourself on this map now as well? Either up in this corner. All right.
I'm in like West Virginia, so it's like
right over in this area, right? It could be this one, or maybe this one, or maybe up here, somewhere like that.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. So at least we're kind of in the right area with that. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to publish this project. And so now, if you guys reload your side of things, I'm going to go back. I'm going to refresh this. And you should be able to now see at the very bottom, we have a new project that I just made for you all called 2023 version 2. And so Renee, Trisha, can you go into that one and see if?
Yeah, I was able to open it.
All right, that's good. Okay, so here, Kate, it'll be exactly the same. So if you want to go into yours, into your project, I'm going to describe to everybody how this works. Again, kind of the way this numbering system is set up is the first 2 digits are your area of interest number, and then the second 2 digits are related to the primary sample unit kind of inside of there. And so there's a little bit of nuance here, but it basically works the same. So here, if you just click on the go to the first plot, it just will take you to the very first plot, right? That is not going to be your plot unless you are in the area of interest number 22, right? So what you actually want to do before you do anything is type in your area of interest number to start off with. So for instance, Renee, if I was going to your first plot, it would actually be 2600. And let's go to that one. And that should actually be the center of your area of interest. And you can kind of see, as we zoom out, we don't really see any other plots right now, but we at least see hopefully the center location that you gave to me. And also the center location here, where if we zoomed in on your grid of points right here and go to your center point, this is the one right here that we're looking at. It looks slightly different because of the base map, but this is the kind of the way that it works. So everybody should find the area of interest number times 100 is the way that I came up with this one, and that's the center point, the center plot location. All right, and let's go back to. There it is, the plot number. Okay, so that's the first thing, is to navigate to your center location, right? And that should be the AOI plus that 00. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you've been able to find yourself there. All right. And so now the next thing that you actually want to do is now we want to label it. And so we're labeling this area based on the base map that I've provided or that we're working with. And that's really, kind of key, because some things look different depending on what base map you use. Like I was just showing you on the ESRI map, it's slightly different. And so, part of what we want to do here is we're going to be labeling what we see from the satellite view going down, also known as the top of the canopy or the top of the buildings. And so it can get a little confusing here, because treetops, like for instance over here, at ground level, there is grass and then a trunk. Rarely is there tree branches going all the way down to the bottom. But the satellite will see the tree canopy before it actually sees what's in the understory or underneath that tree canopy. And so, this is where we want to make a decision based on what the satellite is seeing and that perspective. But we can use our ground photos to help us to understand what the satellite might be missing or what's actually underneath what that satellite sees first. And so I'll get to that question right there, because one of the things that does come up, just looking at this one is, you actually have a great example of tree shadow right here that obscures what is underneath this location. Sometimes it can be easy to see over here where I'll just kind of give it away, that here is like a concrete walking path. And in fact, we can sort of see that this tree shadow is obscuring that and making it black rather than the rest of the concrete white color, right? So that's one of those things that confuses a computer algorithm, but a human brain can make some sense out of that and recognize what is different, even though the colors might be different, right? But it's the same object inside of there. So we just want to keep this little nuance in mind as we go through our labeling, because sometimes like that, it's a shadow, but you might also be able to tell that it really should be labeled as concrete or bare ground or something like that. And so, we want to think about, are we trying to teach a computer what a concrete or what a shadow area looks like so that it can recognize those shadows? Here, we can see that the shadows are all going in the same direction, which helps us to know where the sun is at. And we can actually see that there's a slight difference because of that illumination of where the sun is at. One side of the tree is actually a little bit different colored than the more shadow side of it, right? So we have a bright side and we have a light and a dark side. And again, that confuses what a computer expects to see, unless we tell it that difference right there. And like I said, unless you have a ground photo, you are kind of guessing at what's there. You might be able to use your what and what would make some intuitive sense here, like grass probably is what's in this shadow here between these trees. But we can't really say that with 100% confidence unless we have some other information like a ground photo that can actually show us that. So you'll see over here, we have a label for shadow areas. And actually knowing that there's shadow in these areas tells us that we have some vertical piece of things that is part of what we're measuring from space. Okay, so we can actually count up the number of times that we see a shadow in our area, and that does tell us something about either the trees or the vegetation or the buildings that are in that location. So it's a neat little trick that we can not only look at the count of the trees that are there, but we can also count the number of shadows that are in that location. And here in this case, we even have a little bit of a scale bar, so we can see that these tree shadows are about 5 meters in length. And that might actually be useful, if we wanted to estimate how tall these trees were or how big the buildings were. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of information that is available to you at this point in time. And so that's what your task is, to go through and label what is in these locations, kind of what you see from this perspective, this above ground perspective, and also if you were able to get to that location and take a ground photo. Again, you're the one that might know what is there, and you can use that ground photo to understand that location. And I'll show you that here in a moment, but I won't jump to that quite yet, because Kate, you had a good question about clouds and sort of this piece. So we've specifically I selected this particular base map because it's known as cloud free. So clouds are a main problem whenever we're trying to map the Earth and what's actually on the surface, and the trees, the buildings, just what we're doing on the surface. So a lot of times what you will see with a satellite view, if you zoom all the way out, or as far as you can, you usually don't see any clouds in there, which is different than the real view of the Earth. Okay, if we went to another website and showed you Earth right now, about 70% of the Earth is covered in cloud at a moment. So that's a big challenge. And so what we'll do is choose like the greenest pixel that occurs during a time frame, during the year, and we'll put that in there and actually create an image that doesn't have any clouds in it, or it minimizes the clouds, because as soon as I say that, look right here, there's a couple clouds that are still in this imagery. So even though the people who put this together and have sold it to some of the companies that are making this and providing it to us, they tried to minimize the amount of clouds that are there. Sometimes they just don't do a good job for a variety of reasons, and so you will actually see clouds inside of there that might obscure what is underneath it. And so I just saw something else that happens is, again, we want to pay attention to, like, that's a different image between these two, right? Like, look at that. All of a sudden, you can see a time difference between just zooming in and out. Okay, so this is another challenge of using just open free data like this. But our budget is low or zero, so we are using this with the understanding that there might be problems that we can't control, like cloud cover. Like, for instance, we also don't know really the date of this image itself, that it came together. So there's some things that we could do to improve our process, but sometimes we just can't really control all of that. And so, this is where it's really important that when we go to the step of actually labeling, we are labeling at the same scale or the same image resolution, because you will notice that as you zoom out, you have some differences in the base imagery, and that gets back into what you can actually see in the objects, and again, kind of the timing of things. And also, you'll see, there's things that are out of our control that might interfere with your interpretation, and these are things in artifacts and imagery that happen quite often that you want to be on the lookout for. And so this is where you should be able to go in, and if say you had a dot or an area like this that was just blurry compared to the other area, you can always go in here and flag this plot, and that will alert us that there's a problem with this one. And we can describe why it looks the way that it does, or exclude it, or do some different things like that. The other thing is, when you're labeling, you also have this confidence of your interpretation. Because if you've got a nice, clean, or a higher resolution image where you can make out trees laying on their sides like this, you can even see water level at as it changes over time. That makes it really easy, and your confidence is much higher when you label. In contrast to when it's blurry, if you zoom in too far for some imagery, you might end up with something like this. And so in that case, you might be able to say that, this is water, or this is bare ground, but your confidence would probably diminish because you just can't see the details as well as you can, say, in an area up here like this, where you can actually make out even the shape of a boat and the shape of a dock, and some features like that that are visible when you zoom in and actually disappear when you start to zoom out at a particular resolution. So make sure to use this plot confidence as a way of helping you to provide that level of certainty around your labels as well. That just is a really good way, because this is in interpretation, and so it really relies on your knowledge and the imagery that you're kind of working with on some of these things like that. Again, I just find this to be really fascinating, that we have two different seasons happening here, and I say that because this brown ring is an indication of water level change, right? We can see that difference here. And the amount of or the area that is no longer water, doesn't look like water, is kind of this bathtub ring. That actually gives us a sense for the steepness of this area, this outlet area, compared to this other end of the reservoir. And so that's just something that we can start to see when we have two different seasons like this, and we actually see water changes in particular, because it gives us a volume inside of here. So those are some of the things that you come across unexpectedly when you are going through and looking at your areas of interest and are labeling just your 3,700 meter areas. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back in on this center point on this one right here, and pause and ask if there's any questions after I've kind of given at least a little general idea of what we're trying to do. And Kate, hopefully I answered your cloud question inside of here. All right, Trisha, what's your question or comment?
When I opened up my first plot for my AOI, one of my circles takes place. It's over an alley, but the bottom of the alley is grass, and it's in between two houses. So it's kind of going over three different surfaces. What should I do in this case?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let me navigate to. Let's see. Try to get to that one. Got these labeled right. Okay. So is this your first plot?
No, it's not.
Okay. Let's
It should
see.
be 3000.
That's what I
Wow.
thought, 3000 as well. And I'm not getting that in my version, and maybe because you might be in it. So that's interesting. I'm trying to,
Should I go out of it?
no. Here, what we can actually do is I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to give you the ability to share your screen, if that works for you. Now you should be able to share your screen, and I don't know why I wasn't seeing that, but I like empowering you instead. Okay. So this is really good. And so okay, point to the one that you are wondering how to label. Okay, so yeah, okay, so that one right there, I see as is being on between two roof lines, right? And so one of the things that I almost described, but I didn't quite get there, is zoom out one level here. Click the minus sign once. Yeah, so that our scale bar is 20 meters inside of there. Yeah, right there. That's just about perfect. And what that does is, I mean, it makes the circle a little bit, just a little bit larger. Let me put it that way. But you can see there, like that right there, I would put as a building. Continue the building. Yeah, the building string, or there is the impervious surface for things like driveways, right? And so one of the things that you notice right here is that we really should get maybe or be a little bit nuanced, because the color of the rooftop is just as important as knowing that there's a building there. And you can see that there's actually a difference between some black roofs versus some gray roofs versus, some roofs like that. And that actually will affect what we measure from space. And it will also affect the temperature of those locations. So, right now we're just calling those buildings, but recognize that there's actually a little bit more nuance to even that class than what we're sort of getting into right now. And so, for the most part, you can keep going. And I see, a lot of roofs inside of here that you can just keep clicking on. And one thing I'll give you a hint on, Trisha, is you should be able to use the command button or control button to be able to select a couple of those. Say in the lower left corner, you want to do all 4 of those, and so you should actually be able to it's like a drag. And with a selection, do something like that. Yep, just like that, and then turn them into building. And that's an efficient way of being able to select multiple points that all will have the same label, and you can get through it kind of quick. So was that a shift or a command?
Command.
Command. All right.
What if it's something like this car in the corner?
Oh, so cars are really fascinating because cars are ephemeral, right? Like the cars may or may not be there, but the asphalt that they're sitting on will always be there. And so in this case, we would call that an impervious surface with that. And but you're exactly right. Like one of the things is actually counting the number of cars that are in the image, because that tells us actually how populated an area is, or it gives us a little bit more information. And so again, I feel like those are some of those nice nuances that noting some of those sort of things is really helpful as you go through this. Because you get the chance to look at this, and when you go through and just make a couple notes on, like, this first plot, kind of generally, what did you see, or anything that kind of caught your attention. And we want to hear about those, because though that actually could turn it into the next research question, or it could describe why we're seeing some of the numbers that we are from space. So, there's kind of a general way of thinking about it, and then there's the, you can keep going much more nuanced inside of there. And Trisha, along those lines, like right now, there's a lot of people who are working on identifying or classifying and labeling all the cars in an image like this, and doing that, counting activity and some things like that. So it sort of goes back to, what is your research question? Any other questions? As we're looking at you, doing your plot, like this is really good as a good demonstration. And I don't have any questions about what you're doing. I think those are all, good labels. So thanks for demonstrating that. Okay. So Renee, thank you for sort of confirming that when somebody's in there, it only allows one person unless I set up some things on the backside that allows multiple people to be in there. So Renee, that's good to know. And that also, will keep people from actually doing yours as well if you're in there at the same time. But definitely pay attention to those numbers and try to just stay within your area of interest. And hopefully it's an activity that doesn't take longer than an hour at most, kind of going through that. Okay, so let's see. So Renee, since I was in yours, I will get out of that one right there so that you can get into your center plot. And let me ask, Kate, Renee, do you have any questions about your plot? All right. Excellent. All right, so that's really good. I'm glad to hear that I was able to get you three up and going. Again, hopefully this will get other people up and going when I show the recording, and they won't have to sit through me fixing things. But if you do come across anything else that is a little out of the ordinary or unexpected, let me know. And that's kind of why we have your eyes right there with this. And so one of the things that I did want to show you is inside of that web map. I'm going to go back to the Map Viewer Classic because I just like that a little bit better. But say, so for example, this is nice and easy on, say we're looking at AOI 26 here. And so, I will just bookmark this one inside of here. And so, so one of the things why we had you go out and actually do some observations about doing some ground photos. Oh, let me just change this base map. Change it to light gray. So here, one of the things that is great is, okay, so we were looking at this center point right here. And now, looking at this thematic map, I see at least the name of that it's a community park. I see, the kind of the center point, and this is approximately the area that you're describing. And so, like I was saying, what can be sort of helpful here is, let's see, turn those off. Here we can, when you're doing your labels, you can actually just click on that point inside of that map or find them. And then I can pull this up. And if I look to the south direction, you can actually go down and find, here's the north photo, here's the south photo, and you can just click on that right there. And here is the photo that goes along with that south direction towards the center of this area of interest. And so, this, shows us the quality of that grass and the way that it looks today. And then you can always change your base maps inside of ArcGIS. And here's, kind of that really green view. It looks very similar to today, and it could be very similar. But we can see that, this is what it looked like there. And then if we go back to the Collect Earth Online, where you're doing your points, you can sort of use the ground photos to help you to label your photo points inside of here. So one of the things that I will add to this is the dot grid of 100 points that we're sort of doing around here, so that we can see that relationship again, not only where you took your photo, but also what points are sort of contained and kind of overlap between what you're labeling the satellite view and what you see or what you saw on the ground here from kind of that same location. And I'm really excited about this because there's a couple of these that are like really close to each other. They, spot on. And so again, when you're doing the interpretation and looking at these trees or this area to the north, if I click on the Globe Observer photos, I can again scroll down. We can clean this up, but I can just scroll down in here, and I'm looking for that north photo that kind of goes in that direction. So I can again just click on that, and then here I actually can see those trees. I see the path, that gravel path in the background. I actually see kind of the mowing lines here, so I know it's manicured. It's probably irrigated. I can see the shape of those trees that are right there. And so when I'm actually looking at this right here, I can understand what I'm looking at. I can even see what is kind of these white pixels right there in the middle. If I go to, back to my north photo, because I just closed it. If I scroll back down to the north photo, north photo, I actually see this white rectangular bench that's right there. And then if we flip to the satellite view, I can actually see what appears to be possibly that same white bench right here. It just looks like some, weird little pixels. That could be no grass if I didn't have this photo right here, this ground photo that was provided to help me to understand that piece. The other great thing about this is that I can now go to the satellite or to the satellite view in this map view, and I can get the coordinates of that bench right there. And so I can start to put geographic coordinates together with my ground photos through this process right here. And that is, a really powerful thing where I can go in and do some calculations from this, not there. I can go from where that point is to here and actually get those coordinates, in my map. So, this is kind of this really important step that we wanted to get you guys to this week, which was how the satellite view that we've been talking about corresponds to these, not that ground photo right now, but like these ground photos that we're seeing. And actually, linking these individual trees and their tree height and location back to the labels and what you guys are sampling from above. Okay, there's a little bit of chat there. And so I'm glad that it's been helpful. And, this is really what I wanted to spend some time going over with things. And so hopefully between this recording and some of these live demonstrations, we can get you guys all through doing the labels and actually doing the remote sensing science that go along with the ground photos that you have all collected here.